Hello, everyone. Today, I hope you are all well. And I want to play the role for this reading of the Nissen, which means Santa Claus or the helper of the Santa in these Nordic tradition Scandinavian countries. So I put a lue of the Nissen. I have this kind of cover on my head uh, because I thought that it's nice before holidays, before these beautiful Christmas holidays, that I come with a reading, especially made for this occasion, and also to greet you before the end of this year. It's the end of a cycle for me and for many of you. Finally, Pluto went to the Aquarian people to bother them after it stood for 15 years in Capricorn, which is my sign. And practically, it was a really very deep dive and transformation process of many years, and I'm renewed. So I expected 2025 brings on an external renewal because I washed myself, right? I cleansed myself from inside out with so many sometimes difficult processes. And this reading for Christmas is inspired by what actually is the topic of Christmas. Because at Christmas time, for more than 2000 years, the people who are believing or label themselves as Christian people, they celebrate an unique event that is the birth of Jesus, the newborn child that brings the good news of salvation to the world, or at least the promise of a better world, of a world of peace and love. And lately there were many situations and many circumstances in my life, but also in the collective, like the elections in Romania, or all these developments with the war between Ukraine and Russia, or other wars in Syria and other places in the Far East, that we see that we don't live in peaceful times. Actually, we live in very difficult times, in times of struggle, in times where we are called to keep inside us the feeling of peace and center and balance, because there will be always disruptions from the environment. And this good news of the birth of a child, Messiah, the one who was meant to bring hope to this world and to change the world, changing the paradigm of that world, it's still very much actual. But in our actualization and our desires to improve and to walk a path of more awareness and, who knows, those who care about enlightenment and wisdom, we could start to think and reflect about the fact that this good news is how we can resurrect, how we can praise, reborn a new version of the self, a more healed version. And all this comes and goes through trauma, through trauma work. And for today, this will be a pick a page reading, but also with some cards. I brought you this Gabor Mate and Gordon Neufeld, Hold On to Your Kids, Why Parents Need to Matter More Than Peers. So I'm going to open at a random page and see what is the message that comes from the book and how we can actually discuss it from the lenses of the actual times, from the lenses of our own experience as parents in relationship to our kids, and from the lenses of our own experience of healing our inner child, that parts of us that have been neglected or not so much wanted or loved in the childhood, that have been impacted by trauma and are still in speak, and that are eager to reconnect, to become whole again. And I'm opening now here, Hold On to Your Kids, at page 129. And it is about a legacy of aggression. And actually, it's very much in tune with the times we're living in. And I'm going to read just this page. Violent atrocities by teenagers against one another have begun to stuff of headlines at Columbine High School in Colorado, in Tabor, Alberta, and Liverpool, England. But to focus on the grim statistics and media stories of bloody violence is to miss the full impact of children's aggression in our society. The most telling signs of the groundswell of aggression and violence are not in the headlines, but in the peer culture, the language, the music, the games, the art, and the entertainment of choice. A culture reflects the dynamics of its participants, and the culture of peer-oriented children is increasingly a culture of aggression and violence. The appetite for violence is reflected in the vicarious enjoyment of it not only in music and movies, but in the schoolyards and school halls. Children fuel hostilities among their peers rather than diffuse them, encourage others to fight rather than dissuade them from violence. The perpetrators are only the tip of the iceberg. In one schoolyard study, researchers found that most school children were likely to passively support or actively encourage acts of bullying and aggression, fewer than 1 in 8 attempting to intervene. So ingrained have the culture and psychology of violence became that peers in general expressed more respect and liking for the bullies than for the victim. The most prevalent forms of childhood and teenage aggression are not the fights and assaults that are the focus of studies or statistics, but the all-taking gestures, words, and actions that are the daily modes of interaction among peer-oriented kids. The attacks may be emotional, vented in hostility, antagonism, and contempt. They may be expressed in rude gesture or the rolling of the eyes, or in words through insults and put-downs. The attack can be in tone of voice, in a mocking gesture, in the glare of the eyes, in the posture of the body, in the sarcasm of a comment, or in the coldness of response. Aggression can be directed towards others or expressed through tantrums and fits. It can also be directed towards oneself in self-deprecation like I'm so stupid, self-hostility like I hate myself, headbanging, self-harm, and suicidal thoughts and impulses. Attacks can be directed towards the system itself, such as I'm going to kill you or I'm going to kill myself. Attacks on existence can also be psychological, as in ostracism, in pretending that another does not exist or refusing to acknowledge someone's presence. The list is endless. In other words, the essence of aggression transcends the bluntly violent forms that have become subject of the widespread but future zero tolerance policies currently being adopted in schools and other institutions that deal with large numbers of children. Given the pervasive nature of aggression, zero tolerance is shallow in concept and impossible to realize in practice. Aggression, like love, is in the nature of the underlying motivation. What moves you? In the case of aggression, it is the impulse to attack. Where does all this aggression come from? Why is driving children aggressions for new heights? Why are peer-oriented children so prone to violence? The answer lies not in the statistics, but in understanding what the roots of aggression are and how peer orientation nurtures these roots. Only by making sense of aggression can we truly make sense of its escalation in the world in which our children live. Peer orientation is not the root cause of aggression. Toddlers and preschoolers and other children who are not the least bit peer oriented can be aggressive. Aggression and violence have been part of human history since the beginning of time. Aggression is one of the oldest and most challenging of human problems. Peer orientation is relatively new, but peer orientation powerfully stokes the fire of aggression and foments it into violence. Oh, I think this text is really a little bit difficult, but the core of it is to understand that politics like zero tolerance are just a way to like try to put down all these attitudes and behaviors, but without seriously looking into the root where this aggression comes from and how it's alimented. we know no never solve it, and we cannot bring these children to a peaceful approach and behavior. And it's interesting enough that I was speaking about good news of a new child that is born to bring peace and love, and then the statistics in many parts of the world, if we look to the political conditions or the education level and the way children are raised nowadays and how they manifest all the suppressed and conscious mechanism and traumatization of their own environment and family look like. What I want to say is that maybe we have to find inside each of us the source of love, the source of forgiveness, and that source of real power and courage that tells us you have work to do on yourself. Start with yourself. So your kids or grandkids will not have to live in an environment that is so violent. And what the schools should do, what all the system, instead of imposing zero tolerance politics, they should promote prevention against traumatization and against escalating into this kind of environments that are filled with horrors and behaviors that only bring trauma and create more violence and aggression. Because the root cause comes from upbringing, comes from early childhood, comes from neglect, comes from other abuses that happened to that child. And even judging the parents that might have been abusive or grandparents or other people in the environment will not be a solution. What the solution would be is to create room for addressing these issues through therapy, through peacemaking, conflict resolution, and so on. There are so many tools available nowadays. Why should we wait everything to escalate and people or children being affected to the degree that they get sick or even they commit suicide or they get killed? When we have all these tools, what we need is just to open the eyes, the inner eyes, reflect on ourselves, on how we are dealing with life, how we are dealing with anger, how we manage this anger when it comes out in burst. What do we project? What we is not solved inside ourselves before we project outside. So yeah, it's a very interesting text. But let's see for this Christmas time, on a more positive note, what the cards want to tell us, what we want or need to reflect more for the Christmas time. And how we can bring in our heart peace. And what is expected from us when we cross the threshold from a year to another. And what I see here, I will do like a general reading for the collective, is that we are in winter actually. It's all white around here. And we enter in this Aquarius age, a new configuration of the planets too that will affect us. And we have a lot of work to do, but it's a work of research, of going inwards and communicating, but communicating better, communicating from a heart space, and reviving the inner child, that son that is already inside us, but sometimes we dampen its light and brightness and warmth because we get affected and triggered and so on. And it's good that we can dream for a better life, for a happy life, peaceful life, but we also keep focus on our energy levels and how we can balance them. And trying to connect with everything that is around us using our inner radar or compass is not always easy, because it puts you in that place of, oh, I'm a fool to think this way because I'm not thinking as others, or I'm a fool to desire this energy of peace and balance in my life when everything goes in disarray and the world is all upside down. I am a fool to think that life can go better when actually all the statistics and everything show the opposite. But the calling is always to go inside, to find for all these answers inside, retrieve in your inner home, and create a space for your inner garden to blossom. Nourish this inner garden, and don't afraid to explore new horizons, to go on a trip, on a journey. For holidays, many people go around. You like to travel to meet family or friends. I'm traveling actually, but for other reasons, but I also for a vacation with my son. And be happy, be grateful. You are alive and full of joy and energy. And of course, also validate your emotions, your needs. Don't forget to connect with them. And every moment be aware they are there, but they don't have to rule you or your life. As the wheel is always spinning around, when it's up, when it's down, it's a cycle of life. One chapter ends, another one begins. And this is probably what will happen, because sometimes we get so trapped, like in a prison, a mental prison in our head, that we ignore these needs and feelings and emotions. And then suddenly something happened and a door is opening. And you are invited to go through this door and explore something else, a different reality for yourself. And you are on your path and you might be alone, but there is a small light, a small spark in your heart that is guiding you from inside on this path that is opening through this door. And I'm also going to bring 3 messages from the Oracle of Family Constellations. Again, they are for the collective, and I want them to be omens for the collective in this moment that we celebrate. Soon there will be also winter solstice, when 20 or 21st of December, the longest, darkest night of the year, but always keeping the hope and the spark of that light, that day by day the light comes back. And let's see what the collective field of ancestors, the morphogenetic field, wants to tell us today. What points of reflection, because we spoke about aggression, also we spoke about peace, and we spoke about healing. The wheel is always turning. If we feel very low today, remember tomorrow you might be actually surfing a big wave that takes you far away in your life. It's something I wish for myself. When especially I have these feelings of stuckness and not a precise direction. And the messages we got from the constellation cards, constellation deck, is I'm grateful to myself for having the ability to see the imperfection in my parents, as now I can take them as perfect. I'll read again. I'm grateful to have this ability to see the imperfection of my parents, and now I can take them as perfect, the perfect parents for myself. Son or daughter, I free you now so you can embrace your new destiny with everything that has inside. This is especially for those who have children. Son or daughter, I free you now so you can embrace your new destiny with everything that has inside. And then the third message is being happy means to dive deep every day inside us, discovering a temple that has been unexplored by that moment. Being happy consists in diving deep every day inside us, discovering a temple that to that day has been unexplored. So it's a lot about acknowledging our parents, their contribution to who we are today, and seeing their imperfection and accepting them as they are the perfect ones for us. We learned a lot from them and we took the gift of life. And for our children and those who come after us, we have to set them free so they can go towards their own destiny with everything that means. And then finding out happiness and peace inside, because this means connecting with ourselves every day. It's like going inside that sacred space that is our body, our temple, and meditating and reflecting and exploring what is needed. So we can stay connected and also can perpetuate this feeling of happiness, of being content with who we are, feeling grateful. Yes, I think these are really beautiful messages. And I'm also going to give last messages from the Mary Magdalene Oracle. And then we close this reading. So Mary Magdalene and Joshua, they are considered to be what they call twin souls or flames. And they come with this message of sacred union. But there is so much confusion around this. I actually wrote a book on my website, www.palomablanca.ro. You find it in menu under Creative Projects ebooks. It's the sixth ebook on twin flames, in which I demystify the whole concept that the spiritual world promotes, because I bring a more realistic perspective from a trauma bond and also family constellation and medicine wheel. And we all want to create a second union inside and in outer world in a relationship. Most of the times we fail and we don't know why. And then we create an ideal, a myth. And Magdalene and Jesus, they are considered to be the supreme illustration of this myth. And they, as a couple, they knew the hardship of being together and having to suffer and go through so much ordeal. And Magdalene had to migrate and go to other lands and then create a legacy there. But beyond the myth and the legend, what is important to retain in all this story and concept is the energy itself, because it's the energy of union and completion and wholeness. We cannot relate healthily and lovingly with another person, including our children, if we are not healthy and whole inside ourselves first. And this is the good news that Jesus comes to bring for Christmas, and then further on as an adult into the resurrection act and into the marriage of Eros and Agape with Magdalene. This is the message that the feminine Christ brings. That we cannot live in split and pretend we are happy. It's just a mirage. The real union first has to happen inside, the real awareness, the real healing. So then we can bring healing and peace to the world. This is how we can support our children too. This is how we can offer them tools to avoid aggression or to solve the root cause of this aggression, of the bullying and all these behaviors that are unhealthy, that are just creating more trauma. Because ultimately what we want and need is to be healthy and happy. And let's say, what are the messages of the Magdalene? Is the secret, the purgatory, and the co-creation. I'm going to read from the book. The secret. Someone will soon confide in you, and the information they divulge may shock or disturb you. You may feel torn between the loyalties you have for two people, and this creates a dilemma for you. What is the right thing to do? Should you divulge the information or stay silent? In your heart, you will know. Ultimately, you must be true to yourself, for only in doing so you can be true to others. Revealing the truth will definitely cause upheaval, but eventually, as things settle down, your honesty and courage will be appreciated. Don't dwell on feelings of guilt. Express what is in your heart, for a hidden blessing is in store for all. As the result of the coming events, both you and others will feel a sense of relief. There are positive results for all concerned. However, this can only be actualized through your courage and love. Beautiful. But let's see also the purgatory. The emotional ups and downs you are experiencing are part of a healing process through which all that no longer serves is being transformed and released. Though it may not seem like that, this is a positive time for you. To help facilitate the healing process, make a list of anything you feel no longer serves a useful purpose to your life. Include in this list all negative thoughts and fears. Once you have made your list, practice the following meditation. Imagine yourself and everything on your list being showered by golden light. Now imagine a beautiful violet flame emerging from within the golden light. Imagine the violet flame transforming all negativity into golden light. Continue to focus on the healing power of the violet flame. Feel it transform you, clear, and heal you. Transformation sometimes means that we need to let something go. Trust in this process. All you surrender will automatically be healed or replaced with something more suitable. Oh, yes. And the co-creation card says, a new opportunity will present itself over the coming week, which at first may seem beyond your financial means or expertise. Yet this opportunity would not present itself if you are not capable of handling it. It will work for you provided you are flexible in the methods you adopt. More importantly, keep in mind that anything of lasting value is always a co-creation between you and God and Goddess. Seek intuitive guidance from your higher mind and from Goddess. See yourself in a spiritual partnership with the divine energy and ask to be shown the ways and means of accomplishing your mission. When making a decision, sit quietly and ask the divine to help you to make the most appropriate one. Remember also that perseverance and commitment are major factors in any success. Acknowledge your fears and perceived shortcomings and then go for it. You will not fail, provided you always remember that all you do is a co-creation act. Yes, we are in moments when we can hear secrets from others, and we have to be confident enough and trusted enough to keep the secret. And when we feel we go through this purge, to a purgatory phase, know that there is also light at the end of the tunnel. And no matter how difficult can be a process, there will always be room to make space also for joy, for abundance, and for healing. And never forget that you are a creator, but you don't create alone. You co-create with the universe and with the divine energies once you acknowledge their presence and their contribution. So I really hope you enjoyed this reading and that can bring you some comfort or at least some reflection for this Christmas time, for the good news that you are embracing and celebrating on Christmas occasions with family and friends. And be ready for another deep dive in the next year. Another chapter is opening. a door is opening towards a new path. Embrace it with faith, with joyful curiosity and exploration. And don't be afraid to say yes to yourself and to thank to yourself for everything good you do every day, for everything good you think, and for everything you are, as you are, as you are perfect. Thank you, and I wish you a luminous, confident, bright celebration for Christmas or for any other occasion or concept you want to celebrate now. And I hope to see you next year with new ideas, fresh projects, new contents. Subscribe so you keep posted about the new contents that I'll make available. Thank you. Blessed be